Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Throne of Seal based on novel. So let's start. In front of Zhong Fangfang's interrogation, Lin Xin showed a tranquil smile. These two issues should be no problem. On the side of the Exorcist Mountain Pass, there is nothing we can even do apart from informing Senior Xingyu, but I believe Boss already did that. And the Demon God Emperor is aiming for us, and just as Boss said, if we let him know we are deep in demon territory, he will surely chase after us, and the Exorcist Mountain Pass won't be in such danger anymore. I estimate that the odds of the Exorcist Mountain Pass being attacked by the Demon God Emperor will be below a third. As for the second issue, I believe that it is even more irrelevant. First, our collaboration with Yu Yi is not a matter of only 1 or 2 times. When we were besieged by Arbao's group, she took the initiative to signal us to take her as hostage, giving us a chance for escape. Given how her fiancé Arbao went as far as to want to sacrifice her to take Boss and Vice Captain down, how could she not hate Arbao? Their engagement was even rescinded. So I believe that the probability of an issue arising in Yu Yi's information is very low. Plus, have you thought about that, if Yu Yi's information was false, why would she tell us about the matter of the star demon god using great prophecy technique? Zhong Fangfang replied, this is hard to say. After all, she should have been informed that we requested the Yu Yi Chamber of Commerce help to find information about Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi. Lin Xin expressed, okay, then let's say her information was false, but then, how could the Demon God Emperor predict that after getting this information, we would choose to go deep in demon territory instead of fleeing inside the alliance? Thinking rationally, the Demon God Emperor should not possibly be able to predict we would choose such an escape route. So I am almost certain that Yu Yi's information is real. After listening to Lin Xin's analysis, Zhong Fangfang nodded slightly. What you are saying makes sense. It may just be groundless fears from me. Long Haochen showed a smile. As this concerns the whole team's survival, let's be a bit more careful. Demon gods wanting to conceal their movements won't find that easy, especially now that all demon gods carry their demon god pillars alongside them at all times. When the time comes, I will be able to discern such a thing from very far at a glance. If no demon gods came, it will really mean that there was an issue in Yu Yi's information. But if there are a large amount of demon gods, this will really confirm that Yu Yi's information was true. He still held Zhong Fangfang in a very proper esteem. He was the most experienced and knowledgeable in the group, who does not speak a lot in normal times, but generally goes efficiently to the main point. Still, Long Haochen aside, even Wang Yuan disapproved greatly of Zhong Fangfang's opinion. They had already suffered the experience of suffering a loss due to others' bad criticism, so after Lin Xin's rebuking, they naturally wouldn't go help Zhong Fangfang on his standpoint. After Long Haochen expressed the intention of surveying the demon god's activities from very afar, Zhong Fangfang didn't insist. This was already a very cautious measure. We are departing. Long Haochen glanced at the far demon camp as he gave that order. For insurance, they changed into cloaks belonging to Moon clansmen, used the magic eyes, and stopped flying, traveling on the ground. Under Long Haochen's lead, the group quietly set through the border of the Exorcist Mountain Pass. Long Haochen's mental force spread outwards, enveloping them inside as they rapidly approached the rendezvous point at 50 kilometers from the demon camp. They arrived at their destination half an hour later, stopping on a hill with wind at their back. For the sake of maintaining his mental force's cover, Long Haochen sat cross-legged, with the others sitting in circle around him, calmly waiting for Kia's news. Shutting his eyes, Long Haochen very rapidly entered a state of focus. Aside from maintaining the cover of his mental force was pressed into merging with an extraordinary force coming out from his body. That was the soul linking chains. After 2 years of secluded training, he felt a far greater understanding on many of his abilities, including the soul sharing chains. These pieces of epic tier equipment linked the 7 of them together by the 7's life forces. And, with sufficient mental force put in use, Long Haochen and the others could get a grasp of each other's position. However, because they had all cut the soul-sharing chains before, he was not able to attempt that until now. It surely had to wait for them all to reunite before being possible. At the very moment, grasping Kia's location was what he wanted to do, as well as accurately telling her about their position. Of course, this did not only go one way. Unless Kia's mental force was sufficient, they would be unable to achieve such control of the soul-sharing chains. A short time later, Long Haochen got a grasp of Kia's current location. She was moving at an extremely fast speed, to the extent that Long Houchen was unable to grasp her position accurately. His connection through the soul-sharing chains then rapidly got through to her, so that she could feel their location, and then the connection cut. After all, keeping the connection for too large a time would consume too much of Long Houchen's mental force. Yinga, don't be anxious. Kia is looking for traces of that demon god with all she has. Through the soul-linking chains, I could, as expected, grasp her exact location. Let's do this. We will immediately keep pace with Cai Le. This way, as soon as she discovers the enemy's traces, we will be able to make our move in the shortest time. Chen Yinga's emotions were completely seen through by Long Houchen. Her fiancé's life or death was about to be determined in these 2 days. How could she not be anxious? To them, time was like life. The earlier they could save Yang Wenjiao, the earlier they would be able to set out for the depths of demon territory. Chen Yinga bit her lips. Boss, please don't let things be awkward because of me. We cannot put our team in danger because of Wenjiao, and I believe he would also be absolutely unwilling to see such a situation. If it won't do, let's just withdraw. Long Houchen nodded. I will act according to the situation. Everyone, how is your physical force recovering? Everyone expressed that they had no problem. After recovering for over an hour, they were nearly back to their ordinary performances. Even if they still felt some tiredness of mind, this would surely not affect their battle performances. Go. After his attempt of making use of the soul-binding chains, Long Houchen promptly altered their strategy, leading the others toward Kia's scouting direction. He only needed to check for Kia's location at regular intervals to smoothly go after her. Because Kia had set out over an hour prior to them, and went in full-speed flight for that search, she was close to 100 kilometers far from them. While she constantly altered her speed as she scouted, Long Houchen's group had only to confirm her approximate direction to follow her tracks. As things followed, the group went after her for a whole 7 hours. They had not only to keep up with Kia's speed, but also preserve their strength to the greatest extent, stopping for some time each hour for that sake. Such a lengthy flight led them at least 350 kilometers away from the Exorcist mountain pass. Kia's strengths were prominent at such time. While continuously searching, her speed was still out of reach for the rest, and instead, the distance between them only kept growing further. Spreading out all 4 wings, Long Houchen, who was flying at the head of the group, suddenly stopped. The others stopped successively beside him, giving puzzled looks toward him. Long Houchen had a serious tone. Kia has stopped. She seems to have found something. The most excited to hear him was Chen Yinga, to whom it was as if the tiredness of the whole trip had disappeared, immediately retorting, should we come along to discover about that too? Long Houchen pointed downwards, and strictly ordered, we are going to have some rest here. Yinga, you absolutely have to keep calm, and cannot rush to act. Otherwise, we won't only be unable to manage the rescue, but will furthermore achieve the opposite results. Have a time of rest and preparation, everyone. Long Houchen was rarely that strict when speaking to his comrades, and that was actually due to Chen Yinga's state of mind. If she didn't sober up, a mistake in her actions could very likely affect the whole situation. Yeah. Chen Yinga gave a small reply, and didn't speak further. Everyone landed on the ground, and found a concealed place to hide, immediately sitting cross-legged to start meditating to recover their physical force. Long Houchen stimulated his mental force once again through the soul-linking chains connection, so that Kia could pass on her accurate position. Kia had stopped in a spot for a long time, roughly a quarter of an hour, before setting out on the move once again. Her speed shot up rapidly, rushing at full speed toward the spot of Long Houchen's group. At the current time, Kia was at roughly 150 kilometers from them. Even at full speed, she needed close to an hour to rush back. Long Houchen cut the mental connection, focusing his internal energy to absorb the external light essence to supplement his previous consumption of spiritual energy. He was almost certain that Kia surely made some discovery. As the core of the team, he had to restore his state to the peak. He didn't convey his determination to the others, as they needed to focus on calmly recovering their spiritual energy. As expected, Kia was nearing them by flight before an hour passed. Nimbly arriving in front of the group, she awoke the whole cultivating group. At this time, Kia looked quite pale. Over 8 hours spent scouting and searching came with a massive consumption from her. Long Houchen floated up and placed a super spiritual recovery pill in her mouth, pressing his right hand against her back to pour his pure light elemental spiritual energy into her. Kia's spiritual energy was of a very special type, full of explosive might. This could be called the slaughter attribute, fully inherited from the god of death. Her spiritual energy didn't reject other spiritual energy, which meant that any elemental essence could be turned into strength upon absorption by her. Having gotten Long Houchen's help, Kia's aura gradually became peaceful. To Chen Yinga, who was anxiously gazing at her, she nodded, "I found a demon god leading a group of ox demons. And I caught sight of Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi sent away under escort. The ox demons on guard were about 10,000. Did you recognize that demon god?" Long Houchen stopped Chen Yinga as she nearly shook with a motion to signal her to calm down. Chen Yinga stuck out her tongue, finally calming down without continuing to examine her. Hearing Long Houchen's question, Kia's look became immediately much more stern. That was the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus. The previously extremely excited Chen Yinga immediately let out a gasp upon hearing Kia, becoming much paler. The others didn't look good either. They had just run into great trouble. As excellent figures of the younger generations, they naturally had a very good understanding of the 72 demon gods. The dragon rider demon god Asmodeus ranked 32nd amongst the 72 demon gods. The demon gods' ranking being based on their global strength after all. Despite this demon god's rank at 32nd, his fighting strength was surely at the top among the ones following the top 24. Asmodeus wasn't a possessor of many special abilities such as the demon god of deep vision, but his fighting strength in frontal battles made him greatly renowned among demon kind. Asmodeus had grown 3 heads off the ox, human, and ram type had a snake tail, and had his hell dragon as a mount, and was equipped with a pike adorned with a human skull. With the ox head specializing in attacking, the ram head in defending and the human head in intelligence, his abilities achieved great balance, causing an uncountable number of human powerhouses to fall under his hand. It was really no wonder that Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi's 2 demon hunt squads were annihilated upon encountering the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus. Long Houchen pulled Kia's cold-feeling hand. "Very good. With precise information, we will be able to make good preparations to immediately have a rest." "Yeah." Kia nodded and became silent, making haste to sit down and immediately took a meditative posture. Long Houchen hinted at everyone to sit down, and sat beside Kia. "The dragon rider demon god Asmodeus is a powerful demon god. I'm afraid that killing him will be very hard for us with our current strength. Be it in offensive or defensive abilities, that demon god is extremely tough, and his mount is approaching the 10th rank standards. Plus, we cannot yet reveal our identities for now, so Hao Yue won't be able to join the battle to help us. For now, we can only attempt to draw up some tactics." Saying that, Long Houchen picked up a branch on the side, drawing up some explanatory drawings as he spoke, as everyone nodded repeatedly. "Everyone, remember. Our goal is to save people and not to fight zealously. After saving Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi, you will immediately gather. With the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus present, escaping won't be an easy task. If we cannot do otherwise, we will have to rely on the Tower of Eternity's teleportation ability. My teleportation ability can cover roughly 15 meters diameter, so stay gathered while keeping close to me, understood?" Everyone nodded consecutively, but only Chen Yinga became hesitant. "But boss, in that case, you..." Long Houchen showed a smile. "How about it? Are you distrusting me?" Chen Yinga shook her head with force, clenching her fists. Not saying anything more, she was filled with thankfulness. She deeply noted the investment made by Long Houchen and the others for her sake. A demon force of 10,000 was rushing in the wilderness, formed fully of ox demon heavy infantry. The ox demon clan was a strong clan, but unfortunately, they didn't have any demon god inheritance. Therefore, despite being rich and powerful, their race was far from comparing with the likes of demonic bears or hell demons. But of course, they were still far greater than the likes of the dual-bladed demons or wolf demons. The main force of the ox demon army was fighting on the battlefields of the Myriad Beasts Mountain Pass and Spiritual Temple. These 10,000 ox demon heavy infantry forces were transferred by the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus in support for the Exorcist Mountain Pass side. 2 demon gods died suddenly in battle on the Exorcist Mountain Pass front, and the emo demon god Sytry sustained injuries. Adding to that the continuous skirmishes and ambushes, their original decisive advantage suddenly turned around. The dragon rider demon god Asmodeus therefore received the order from the demon god emperor to reinforce the Exorcist Mountain Pass camp. Although the battle on the Myriad Beast Mountain Pass was fierce, the spiritual temple's summoned beasts were too hard to handle, and no progress would be made for a certain time. As the ox demon didn't have a demon god inheritor, they were very close to the ox-headed dragon rider demon god Asmodeus. After meeting him, they immediately formed a reinforcing group for him to transfer the soldiers. The ox demon god was entirely constituted of lofty individuals. Although not matching the demonic bears in this regard, they were also over 2 meters tall, their upper bodies covered with bronze-colored thick-muscled flesh, their backs especially wide. Their swelling flesh could really cause one to tremble. The pair of horns on their heads would, in case of collision, even be able to pierce through 1/5 of a meter thick steel plate. The most ordinary ox demon warriors were powerhouses of the 4th step, but this clan's cultivation was able to attain up to the 8th step. The weapons used by ox demons were, like the large majority of the demons, extremely varied, but most of them would prefer the axe or hammer types of weapons. The dragon rider demon god Asmodeus was easy to identify within this group of ox demons. Although robust, they paled in insignificance in comparison to this dragon rider demon god. Asmodeus' upper part was also bare, wearing only deep blue shorts. Dark-skinned, his stature reached an impressive height. As for his 3 heads existing simultaneously, the middle one was the human head, and on the left and right were the ox and ram heads. His dark flesh let out a metallic gloss, and his majestic body stood like a hill in the midst of the towering army. The hell dragon he was riding reached a size of 15 meters, quite resembling bone dragons, except that its bones weren't as thick, but its whole body was dispersing dark flames. Inside its eyes, a deep purple hellfire flame was pulsing. The surrounding ox demons kept themselves at a distance of at least 20 meters, out of fear of getting roasted by its hellfire. The ox demons were always running forward, and this had gone on for 10 days already. The greatest trait of these ox demons remains their great endurance, being close to the strongest on this aspect compared to all demons of the same grade. They are good at long-distance raids, and also large weight transportation. Not far behind Asmodeus was a prisoner chariot pulled by 8 ox demons. That chariot was a huge cage with 4 wheels below, and 2 people with locked hands inside. If it was not because Asmodeus believed that they could still be of useful value, they would have been killed long ago. However, these 2 humans were severely wounded and not far from death. If it were not because Asmodeus gave his subordinate the absolute order to keep them alive, they wouldn't have been kept for so long in that state, relying on the little food and water kept in reserve for them. Riding his hell dragon, Asmodeus lifted his heads upwards. His 3 heads had 3 different thinking circuits, and only shared a common body. The ox head said quite impatiently, "It is really too slow. If I knew about that I wouldn't have brought these young oxes." The ram head let out a snort, "Weren't you the one who insisted on bringing these young oxes for your honor? If we went by ourselves, we would have arrived long ago. And we not only brought so many ox demons, but also these 2 burdens." The human head in the middle spoke coldly, "You 2 calm down. Still need me to keep explaining it to you? These 2 humans are demon hunters, and captains of their demon hunt squads. To reach such levels of cultivations at such young age, they cannot be nameless figures among humans. If we can exchange their lives to retrieve a demon god crown, it will be a great merit for us." Listening to the human head, the ox head and ram head immediately behaved. The human head wrinkled its brows. "At most we will take 3 more days before reaching our destination." After reaching that point, the previously resolute-looking human head suddenly turned around to a certain direction, coming to a sudden stop there. Right as the group was passing through a hillside, in a series of roars, a large amount of magical beasts were rushing from the top of the hillside, heading toward the army of ox demons. Ox demons being of a naturally fighting expert race, they didn't need at all to wait for Asmodeus' order to already respond in a ready formation. The magical beasts going up the hillsides were really numerous, and although some in the lot were weaker, the overwhelming majority reached at least the 4th rank, with some especially strong ones at the 8th or 9th step. In the midst of these magical beasts stood a huge demonic eye of 1 meter diameter, whose 4 long tentacles were waving around. Psychic undulations kept being released from that huge demonic eye, and these magical beasts seemed as if under its command, advancing accordingly as they flagrantly clashed with the demon army. Bang! An intense wave of distorted ripples descended in the midst of the heavy ox demon cavalry. Under the influence of these twisting ripples, the large expanses of ox demons went stiff and immediately sank into disorder upon contact. The over 100 magical beasts immediately launched frantic attacks, relying on their basic instincts. The demonic Eye Commander was still keeping watch from the central rear, launching magic of psychic attribute to stimulate the magical beast on its side while harassing the demon army with psychic shockwaves. Immediately, despite being in an overwhelming numerical inferiority, their side killed their way and put the ox demons in a pitiful state. However, these 10,000 ox demons were still an undoubtable standing army. After a short time of confusion, they very rapidly settled down their advance, and formed a correct formation to confront these magical beasts. One magical beast after another were gradually killed, while damage was also continuously sustained by the ox demon's side. A thick reeking of blood gradually arose in the air. The dragon rider demon god Asmodeus didn't pay attention to the battlefield, but looked toward the peak of the hillside. These magical beasts came just too suddenly. How could there be so many of them living in such a place? Plus, so many different races were moving altogether. There could be only one explanation for that: human summoners. At the current moment, the magical beasts rushing down the hillside were already over 500, inflicting not insignificant damage to the ox demon army. Asmodeus determined, therefore, a total amount of summoners atop the hillside. He didn't rush to intervene, as these mere summoned beasts were not enough to break through the ranks of the ox demon army. A sharp sound was emitted as colorless twisting waves broke out once again. This time, the only eye of that demonic Eye Commander completely turned a blood-red color. As a wielder of psychic magic, that demonic eye's attack erupted. These twisting waves passed through the most crowded areas of ox demons. Those victims from them almost instantly turned sluggish, but this time they didn't recover so fast as with the previous psychic shockwaves, but let out puffing sounds as they spit out blood. The ox demons in the way of these twisting waves died, having their 7 apertures bursting out with blood. This instant, at least 300 of the ox demons perished instantly, also earning some time for the magical demons being encircled by the ox demons. Among them, some powerful ones immediately took the chance and rushed through the gaps in the demon army's formations. From the start of the battle to now, only a dozen or so minutes had passed, but the ox demons had lost close to a tenth of their forces. Still, the 500 or so magical beasts also suffered similar quantities of losses. After inflicting his powerful blow, the demonic Eye Commander was visibly quite weakened, and its 4 lengthy tentacles removed themselves from the ground, rushing back to the hilltop. Want to leave? The dragon rider demon god Asmodeus snorted, as he pointed the large pike in his right hand toward the demonic Eye Commander's direction. Next, a black glow shot out from the skull flag on the top of the pike, producing a black skull of a meter diameter flying toward the demonic Eye Commander. The other magical beasts were fighting on the battlefield undaunted by dangers, but this demonic Eye who commanded their side at the beginning and escaped with that timing was visibly not an ordinary summoned beast. From Asmodeus' view, this should be the contracted beast of a powerful summoner. Even he found this kind of psychic magical beast troublesome, and naturally wouldn't let it leave alive. It appeared as that the black skull was following the demonic Eye Commander. A golden glint suddenly shot out from the top of the hillside, pulling that demonic eye. In a swish, the demonic eye abruptly accelerated, leaving the black skull behind. The next instant, a figure radiating in orange color came into the black skull's path. The orange radiance suddenly flashed, and in a swish, the black skull dissipated in the sky and a knight fully clad in gold appeared. That knight was riding a majestic starlight unicorn, spreading out its wings and liberating a pure and holy gloss of light. It was his shield that stopped the previous black skull. A knight along with a summoner. Asmodeus' human head started to reveal a cold smile, and the hell dragon he was riding released its bony black flamed wings. The ox, human, and ram heads dispersed the same black flames as the hell dragon, and pointed the pike this time toward the distant golden foundation knight. In some ways, Asmodeus was like a demon knight. When encountering a human knight, his fighting intent couldn't help but ignite brazenly. The berserker demon god Arnan, and he shared a similarity among demon gods, and that's the special value they attached to individual heroism. Slapping on the hell dragon's back with his right hand, the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus soared and raised his more than 5 meters long pike, while still standing on the hell dragon's back, fervently staring fixedly at the opposite Longhauchen. Dense black flames burst forth simultaneously from the hell dragon and him, seemingly burning the surroundings. The earth dragon let out a whinny sound, already rushing toward the knight riding a starlight unicorn. Without a doubt, this Golden Foundation knight was naturally the captain of the demon hunt squad Bright Glimmer of Hope, Longhauchen. The previous tide of beasts was obviously summoned by Chen Yinga alone, who relied on the 18 creature summoning gates to call out over 500 magical beasts, manifesting her terrifyingness as a high-level summoner. In fact, over 10 of her magical beasts were at the 9th rank, matching human powerhouses of the 8th step. The Ox Demon army would need to expend quite a large cost to get rid of them, so they performed very effective stalling. After completing her summoning through the creature summoning gate, Chen Yinga was still recovering. The dragon rider demon god Asmodeus pointed his pike forward, causing crispy sounds to be heard as mighty black flames were shot from the peak of the pike, changed into a dragon head in the air, then aimed straight at Longhauchen. This blow was far more powerful than the previous attack on the demonic eye commander. At the same time he launched the attack, the sky behind Asmodeus' back turned pitch black. Right at that time, a golden light surged out from Longhauchen's back, and immediately, a milky white pillar of light shot from behind him, aiming at Asmodeus. Black and white crossed each other in the sky. When the pike in Asmodeus' hand rose, that black flaming dragon immediately deviated, biting at that white light. But to the surprise of the dragon rider demon god, the white pillar of light directly drilled through the dragon head, as if not affected in the slightest, then landed onto his body. A special feeling immediately filled Asmodeus' whole body. That instant the knight in front of him became suddenly like his lifetime enemy, and Asmodeus' sole wish became killing him. No mistake, that white glow was not any attack, but the release of Yating's evolved ability through the Saint Spiritual Stove. The Saint Spiritual Stove is able to attract the enemy's attention, turning oneself into the number 1 target for his offensive attacks, but cannot affect the enemy's offensive power. At the same time the Saint Spiritual Stove's effects affected Asmodeus, his black dragon also arrived in front of Longhauchen. The divine snail shield of sun and moon was used to block it, alongside divine obstruction. Longhauchen deliberately met this attack head-on, because he wanted to know the extent reached by Asmodeus' true strength. The instant that black dragon met with the divine snail shield of sun and moon, Longhauchen couldn't help but let out a gasp. Asmodeus' strike was filled with violent darkness spiritual energy. A sticky essence of darkness rammed against the divine snail shield of sun and moon. Like a worm, it started to extend and try passing the 2 sides of the shield to reach his body. Not only that, but the terrifying impact force directly bombarded Longhauchen, even repelling Star King several dozen meters away, before he could stabilize. Divine obstruction is a knight's most practical and most important technique. By using it appropriately, one can resist a several-fold stronger enemy. And with a sufficiently powerful shield, the might of divine obstruction can grow even further. Certainly, one might not necessarily find a better shield than the divine snail shield of sun and moon in the whole alliance. Adding to that, Longhauchen's personal understanding of divine obstruction was close to perfection. But even so, he didn't manage to fully dispel the might of the enemy's strike. A violent impact force shook the divine snail shield, as Longhauchen felt the internal spiritual energy in his body running amok. But by chance, the shield in his hand, transformed from a starlight divine beast, had by its own nature a great suppressing power toward darkness spiritual energy. Holy Light's baptism managed to stop the black flaming dragon's corrosion from spreading. But with this probing clash alone, Longhauchen determined that the enemy was far above himself in strength. When the 2 sides don't differ much in strength, the Saint Spiritual Stove can effectively suppress the enemy, but when the gap is so wide, it becomes just a charming effect. After pushing Long Houchen back in a blow, the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus accelerated in a flash, going after Long Houchen's retreating figure, approaching rapidly. The flagged pike in his hands was swept up, aimed straight at Long Houchen on Star King's back. This knock carried an imposing black electricity. Looking from afar, Long Houchen only appeared like a small ball of light, while the dragon rider demon god was like an overwhelming black cloud, making Houchen look insignificant. But this time, Long Houchen made a decision that Asmodeus did not expect. The orange glow disappeared. He unexpectedly recovered the divine snail shield of sun and moon, serving as his greatest defense. Instead, in his two hands he wielded the aria of the goddess of light. Confronting Asmodeus' sweep, the heavy sword in his hand launched a downward strike. Looking for death, Asmodeus let out a snort, and his ox head let out a roar as his pike gained in might. Even with a mountain in his way, he would sweep through it head on. Part 1 end here.